And I look from a distance. I'm sitting there with the guy Isaac that lent us the money. And I see Erik on the table, his shoulders just like shrinking as his stack gets smaller. Alright, let's go. Erik, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm recently discovered that I'm scared of 14-year-olds.
And why exactly?
I'm doing Thai boxing. Well, and I'm usually just practicing with the pads. I'm not very good. And yesterday I decided it was time to bring it up a notch and go for a sparring session where people fight each other. And I went in, I was pumped with adrenaline, feeling like a big, strong man. And then I get to face this 14-year-old guy, and he looks
Wait,
really...
so you were fighting a 14-year-old?
Yeah, well, no. The 14-year-old was fighting me.
Was it a big guy?
He was the biggest 14-year-old I've seen that day. He was a very small 14-year-old. He was about half my size. You know David and Goliath when they're fighting?
Yeah.
And you're cheering for David? It felt like the world was cheering for the little guy.
I cheered for Goliath.
Yeah, I cheered for Goliath too. I was Goliath. So I came in feeling like a big, strong man. This little guy, he beat the freaking crap out of me.
So what did you have going for him?
Probably a sucky opponent. I think that was,
Alright.
that was his
But
biggest
you are
strength.
pretty good. You are pretty good. If
Yeah, so he was so small I couldn't hit him. He was super fast.
Oh, he was quicker.
Yeah, he was super fast. And he was so flexible. So he was like, he went here to me. And I wasn't flexible enough to kick him in the head. But he could kick me in the head. So like, what the fuck, man?
But how cocky were you before the fight?
Well, how cocky do you think Goliath was when he faced David?
Well, you know when you were playing soccer back in the days, and you saw your opponents, and you said, okay, these guys are really short. Like, go for high shots. This should be one of those things. Oh, he's just a kid. We'll barely have to try here.
Yeah, I mean, I came into that round. I done some other rounds, and I was so tired from the other round. And I'm like, finally, I'm gonna fight with the little kid. Let's rest. Oh boy, was I wrong! So I came in with the mentality, I'm just gonna chill now. I'm just gonna keep in on the distance, relax. And I was already limping a little bit because someone else had hit me on the leg. And then, kabam! My leg went broken.
Oh my god.
By a 14-year-old little boy. But other than that, I'm good. So I'm ready to podcast the hell out of this.
I have a quick story I want to share first. Speaking of, when you play soccer and you look at the other team, like, oh, their players are tall, this is gonna be difficult, or these guys are small, we'll win this. Once I was playing in a soccer team it was called the wide team because we had a lot of width in our team, which means everybody sucked. No one was good. So we were the worst team. And one time we didn't have a keeper, and one guy in the team, he had broken his arm and the other arm. So he had two arms broken, and what is that called? Gips. He had the white hard thing. So he had two casks on each arm, broken, and was being goalkeeper. And I just imagine looking at, we're gonna play a team that has a goalkeeper with two broken arms. We won that game though. No, we lost. We lost. All right. Before we get into this, explain what happened yesterday.
Okay, so my day yesterday was one of the most intense days ever. And it started with you and me having a very good conversation about life, about all things in general, and we got into the topic of loneliness. And I'd love to explore this a bit later because you shared some really good things on loneliness. But what happened was that I started explaining about how I felt lonely, and you went straight into solution mood. Like, yeah, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this, you can do that. And I got this feeling in my chest like, hey, I wasn't done here. So quite bluntly, I'm just, stop! Let's focus on me for a bit. Let's explore this feeling. And you very lovingly accepted that, even though I kind of verbally smacked you in the face.
You were much softer than that. You did ask for permission. You were not a traffic police. Yeah, you were soft.
Okay, I started with stop, then maybe I asked for permission. Yeah, at least we got into a very good conversation about that, about loneliness, about why I'm feeling lonely, what connection is. And after that, let's go back to that with you. What was your insights on loneliness? When did you feel lonely?
Well, this is such a big topic, so I feel like we should do maybe an entire episode where we could explore this. But basically, I've been into a process of realizing that a lot of emotions that I either been suppressing or I didn't know what they were, that they were actually some kind of loneliness. So I would love to explore this a little bit deeper, but for now, can we focus on what did this lead into?
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, so basically, we felt that we had a very, very meaningful conversation here, and it felt like something that a lot of people could learn from. So, me being me, I said, hey, why do you think about live streaming this? And you being you, saying, yeah, let's do it. And 2 minutes later, we started posting this on Instagram, just our regular conversation. And we had a lot of fun with it. Quite a few people wanted to watch, quite a people interacted with us, and we got into live streaming mode. So we talked for another hour and a half with racing pulses, learning that you can see how many watches, you can see what they're writing, you could do things with this and that.
Getting distracted by the chat.
Yeah, both of us looking like distracted golden retrievers because we tried to look at the computer screen, which was here, and then both of us saw the other one lingering, like there was a beautiful girl taking her clothes off on the screen before coming back.
I've never done that.
Never done that. Never wanted to see a beautiful girl take her clothes off. Me neither. Yeah, so that led us onward. So we did another live stream session on Facebook later that day, where I practiced a speech that I'm gonna do on Saturday, and we posted in same thing on Instagram, but also on Facebook. And I was the only one talking, and still it got out on your Instagram feed. So what did you feel then?
Oh man, that was uncomfortable. And yeah, that took my nervous system out of comfort zone to uncomfortable zone and into panic zone. Because you have posted videos before, and I've been so impressed with that, because to me it's a big step, starting your own YouTube channel, posting inspirational pictures on Instagram. And I would love to do that one day, but I'm not quite there yet. So for this episode, I have set up a separate account where I can do that. And actually, yeah, I'm going into solution mode now, so let me back up. You asked what emotion I was feeling, and I was sweating from my nose. I think that describes the emotion I was feeling.
Yeah, it does. You were filled with joy.
Yes, sweaty joy. For sure.
Sweaty panic joy.
So we had an intense day. We feel hangover on life today.
Yeah,
Erik
sure.
made up that expression. And just to clarify for anyone listening, when Erik said me being me, what he's meaning is that one of Erik's principles in life is that just begin, just do things, just start. And that is a very strong habit in many ways, because you get shit done. And what kind of flip side would you say, Erik, there is to that kind of habit?
With flip side, you mean bad things, or what do you mean with flip side?
There is two sides of any coin, you know.
Okay, so I see this as one of my biggest strengths, is that I do things without really thinking about the consequences. I see it as one of my biggest weaknesses too. Because I do things without really thinking about the consequences. Sometimes consequences, not so good. Sometimes I mean, the simplest one is that I'm constantly making jokes, and 9 times out of 10 that turns out well. 1 times out of 10 I hurt someone's feeling, and it becomes a really tricky situation because I didn't really think about the consequences of that. Or I've started companies that lost me a lot of money because it was a really shitty, bad idea. And I just kept going because that was me. So I've done that. What else have I done that turned bad from just doing things like that? Well, I've said yes to a bunch of trips I didn't really want to go to. I've ended up in places that I didn't really want to be. But most of the time it turns out well. I've got shitloads of panic from telling things on podcasts, and then yes, I did this podcast in Sweden, more or less giving every single detail of my sex life and my troubles there without really thinking that through. It turned out really well, but just sitting there was really nice talking to him. And so now everyone who speaks Swedish can find out about my sexual struggles, and yeah, that's probably both a good thing and a bad thing.
Well, it's a volatile strategy for sure. There's a lot of very good things about it and some downsides. And one of those downsides that I have in mind is that if things are not all the way thought through, you might forgot something. And one thing that we have realized that we have forgotten is to properly introduce ourselves. And that is the intention with this call. The intention is to give sort of a background to, because I think most of the people going and seeing this knows who Erik is. So we wanted to give an introduction of how do me and Erik know each other, who am I, what is my background, and I'm pretty sure as well that you will hear some things about Erik that you haven't heard before. All right. And a way that we want to do this is that we want to tell this story together, because me and Erik have had kind of similar lives in many ways. And our timelines has been going together, they've been separating, they have been going back. So I feel ready to begin. Do you have something you want to add to that, Erik?
Oh, it sounds fun. Let's go for it and see where we end up. Well, we're going to end up here. We know that.
Where?
Here, you will be just standing behind me.
All right, cool.
I promise.
So, you told this story before about what your interests were when you were just a tiny kid. And I think looking at what those kinds of interests are interesting because it can kind of give you a hint, a taste for what's going to come up in the future. So when you were just a kid, what did you love doing the most?
So this contemplation, this trail of thought comes from Simon Sinek. He talks about what you should do in your life if you haven't found your passion. And he suggests this exercise that I've been doing where I close my eyes and I see myself as a child. I'm doing what I love to do. I'm playing with my favorite toys. And I'm seeing this in front of me. And then I open my eyes again and I'm coming back to understand what was going on. What did I love to do? And what I was playing with Legos or sand to build things. I was building a tree house. Everything I was doing was about building things. And what I take away from this is that that's something I still love to do. I love building things. I love creating them. I love to take that to the next step. Today I'm building companies and organizations. I'm building a lot on my relationships where I really want to see them develop and grow. I'm building a lot on myself and dancing skills or fighting skills so I don't get beaten up by 14-year-olds. And I think that this is a great way to get an understanding of what we really want to do, because the children version of us just did what they wanted to do. There were no demands, they didn't have a job, they didn't try to impress anyone. So I think that anyone who read a lot or loved to dream away is probably doing similar things today, and maybe should have a job that reflects that. Or anyone who liked to compete a lot should probably be in a competitive area today as well. So I saw myself, when I see myself as a builder, and it's then one answer to who I am. How did you see yourself?
Cool. The reason I brought this up is that I was exactly the same. Always built the highest towers in kindergarten. I just loved building stuff. Always had some plan, always had some project to do. And I think that's very deep in the core of you and me. And that's one reason that we work well together, I think. And there is a stereotype, a Swedish stereotype of the typical Swedish family. And what do you have there? You have a villa, probably a yellow villa. You have a golden retriever. You have a Volvo, probably 2 kids, middle class, something like that. And I checked every single box on that typical Swedish guy list. And you must have checked quite a bit of them as well.
Yeah, I checked all of them, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, in many ways, my parents were very different. But if you look at all the just random stereotype things, the one you just mentioned, we did have the dog. Not a golden retriever, but the dog. We did have the yellow villa. We had an average car. There were 2 kids, 2 parents, still married. Yeah. And I played football like you're supposed to do as a child. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So I ticked every single box.
So up until around 15, it was the typical Swedish life. And then something, bam, happened that quite drastically changed the direction for both of us.
Yeah.
And that's how we met, actually, by total accident. So what happened around 15? Something was introduced.
Yeah, so I'm sitting in a physics class. I'm 16 years old. And Björn, a guy in my class, he's playing a game on his calculator. We had these really, really nerdy calculators called Texas Instruments Silver 85. The cooler, the highest number you had, the cooler was. Yeah. So this is nerds. When you're bragging about your calculator, that's me.
I had 3 of them.
Okay, you're 3 times the size of my nerdiness. Yeah, and he had a game on it, and it was poker. So I was like, hey, I want to play
calculator?
Poker. On his calculator.
What?
So we started playing poker on his calculator during physics class. And then we went and bought this set of poker chips, and we started playing poker on all the physics classes because our teacher didn't really pay attention. And
all your physics class. You played in your physics class. Yeah. Imagine you're a teacher. 15-year-old students are gambling in your classroom.
Yeah, I remember I had a chemistry teacher called Hans, and he liked poker as well. So he used to come and sit down, and we had these chips everywhere. We never had money on the table, and he was like, "Yeah, of course you're only playing for chips, right?" Like, yeah, no money at all, no. Like, yeah, right. So yeah, that was how my poker story starts. How did your poker start?
Oh, very similar. But we were not allowed to play in school, I think, for kind of understandable reasons. But I like that teacher. You like a good hustler teacher. No, I was playing with friends at home games. And yeah, that's... What did it feel like for you when you first started playing that game?
I've always loved card games. We played a lot of card games in my family, so for me it was just so fun to just play. I loved the playing of it. And money didn't play such a big role. We didn't play for a lot of money. I think over the course of 6 months, the one who lost the most lost 150 euros or something. So low stakes. And it was just the only thing I wanted to do. Can you recognize this feeling? Like, yeah, imagine that you're a kid. You're 7 years old, and it's Christmas morning, and you've been waiting for Christmas for so long, and then you wake up at 5 in the morning, but it's Christmas. So you really don't want to go back to sleep. You just want to jump out of bed and be Christmas, 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 Christmas. I was like that, but with poker. So it was physics class, physics class, physics class. With actually poker, poker, poker.
That's a really good analogy. And that's exactly the feeling that I had. I felt like being able to play, that's like Christmas. Those home games were the most fun thing. But that sort of didn't make that big of a difference because you could actually only play at the home game, right? And then if other players lost too much money, they had a nasty tendency to not to want to play anymore. So then you have to wait until they were willing to lose some more money.
Bad friends.
Yeah, but then something happened. A circumstance changed. So imagine now that you are that kid on Christmas, but you're living in a land where you could celebrate Christmas every single day, and every day was equally fun.
Ooh, is that Santa Land, where Santa lives?
Imagine Santa Land for people like us. And what does that mean, Erik?
I'm guessing you're going for online poker.
Online poker. I remember before my 17th birthday, I wished for one thing as a present. I said, Mom, because I was underage, Mom, I only want one thing. I want an account to play online poker. I don't want anything else. And she gave me $30 to play for online. And that is when I met infinite opportunity.
Yeah.
Everything I own today is from those $30, by the way.
Did you give her something back on that investment?
No. Maybe I should.
It's a good mother though. My mother was paranoid when I started playing. So I started playing, I was also 16, 17 when I played online. And I set up a fake account. It wasn't even in my own name because I wasn't old enough. And I started playing this. You were a hustler. I was a hustler. So you were playing in your mother's name, or how did you do it?
Yeah, my mom's name. And then my dad's. And I got him banned for life from PokerStars for cheating.
Well, I set up a fake account. It was my own name, but with a different date of birth and stuff. And I started playing these free poker money tournament on poker.com. And I remember the first tournament I played. Well, not the first I actually won any money in. I was sweating. I was so nervous. I was so panicky because I was in the money and it was so much tension. And then I won $7. I've never cared so much about $7 in my life. But that became my $30 then, the equivalent.
And for the one listening, like I can't stress enough how much fun this was the best time in poker. This was the free roll times, and I think most professionals started there. That you play free rolls or $1 tournaments. And free roll is a tournament where there's no entry fee. It's just advertising that the poker site is doing, and you can win like really small amounts, and then you have a chance to actually play for real. And playing those $1 tournaments, that was like the best part of getting into poker.
Yeah, and everyone were doing it. All of my friends were doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, my friend Christopher, he still has a print screen on his computer when I'm bragging about how much money I have. So he saved this, and there's a picture of my poker account. And I'm really, really rich. I have $13. I'm so proud. I've never been prouder of money than those $13. Good times. Good times.
I still remember the beginning of poker. Like in my world, it was like a fairy tale. I just enjoyed it so much. And I had a lot of friends around me that play, and those became my best friends. So it became like a real community around that too. And speaking of communities, how did you and I meet?
As we met online, on the Tinder of poker, called pokerforum.nu. It's a Swedish poker forum. And I'm not really sure how it happened the first time or why we met. Do you know this story?
Probably because we were 5 guys that after a while had an office in Stockholm. And so we started a thread on Poker Forum, like a diary. And we had a lot of posts and a lot of people reading. So you probably were on that thread.
Yeah, that's true. You had this poker blog on the forum. Yeah, and you guys were so cool because you had the biggest blog on the forum. And I think that I just said, hey, why don't I come up and visit? And you said, hey, come up and visit.
Well, yeah, we didn't have an office back then. We were playing at my dad's house. In his living
you
room.
and I think you already had the office, but you and I were sitting in your dad's house.
We were 4 or 5 guys just rigging up our computer in my dad's beautiful living room. He did not like that.
It's like when everyone else does, when everyone else were playing computer games, like LAN, whatever the word is for that in English, it's probably LAN. When they were playing Counter-Strike, we were playing poker in the same nerdy way. We were drinking Red Bull or this fake Red Bull, like whatever it was called. That was much cheaper because we couldn't afford Red Bull. Eating snacks all night, playing poker, and watching Friends. We had Friends on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of this reminds me of something that differentiated you from all the other players, and one of the reasons why we're here today. So something that's very different from Emil and me is the way we approached the game of poker, or the way we approached things in general. So as we said before, I just did things, which was in poker what Emil did as well. But I just kept beginning. I didn't really study. I didn't learn much. I just did. Emil, on the other hand, he had a bookshelf of poker books, which was way more books than I've read in my life up until then and probably until now. So we were like 10 guys playing poker all the time. 9 of us was playing all the time. 1 of us was studying. Can you guess who won the most? Who won the most, Emil?
Well, in the beginning, it was you guys.
And what happened then? Don't be humble.
You might have experienced some swings in a downward directions.
Yeah, you kept beating the crap out of us. So what that led to, though, was Emil kept winning, and I started not winning. Face that way because you have the light. Yeah, so I stopped winning. Emil kept winning. So that's where our much better. That's where our kind of life streets pathed for a while. What happened?
No. First we were on a poker trip together.
Oh.
Can't forget that one.
Oh, tell me about the poker trip.
All right, we went to my favorite country.
I know where you want to get to with this, you motherfucker.
Italia. So were we in San Marino or something?
We were in Milan, outside Milan, in actually north of Italy, Bergamo.
Oh yeah. So really beautiful, old school Italian.
Lugano,
right?
In Switzerland, Lugano.
Right, and we probably there playing some tournaments. I'm not sure if I think we were too poor to even be able to enter the tournament.
Yeah, we played Unibet Open.
Oh yeah, maybe we did. Yeah.
Yeah, Unibet Open. It was a 1,500 euro tournament.
Really? That's pretty baller. Maybe we qualified for it. Anyway, so we're playing a side game because I think we're all bust from the main event, tournament.
Yeah, we're out. We weren't allowed to play anymore.
And I think we're all 4 of us Swedish guys playing at I can't exactly remember. I think we're playing at a sit and go, which is a 9-man tournament.
Yeah.
And we're probably talking Swedish all the time and almost colluding.
Yeah, we're cheating.
Probably, yeah. So the Italians are super pissed at us. And do I remember, there was one guy at that table that was really pissed and really cocky and was trash talking all of us, and mostly you, I think.
Yeah, this is the story. I know.
I can't remember this exactly.
I know you want to tell. Okay, so it's actually not in a sit and go. It's a side event. So it's a tournament that costs a couple €100 to play. And I'm playing, and at my table, this cocky old man, like in some really expensive, really this show of like Fendi clothes. He had 2 watches on his hand. Like, what the fuck? Who wears 2 watches?
I seen a guy in Vegas with 4 watches. That was amazing.
Yeah, this guy only had 2. So he had one on each hand, like one fancy Rolex kind of thing on each hand.
You should never store a top, by the way, for anyone who's listening. That's rude. Unless someone was wearing 4 watches. Then it's okay.
Yeah, so he was wearing 2 watches. And he was such a freaking douchebag. He had no idea what he was doing. He had no idea how to play. And he was just really, really annoying. And then I played a pot, and I lost the pot. He wasn't even involved in the pot. And he just stood up, came to me and started like massaging me. Don't worry, man. Don't worry, man. And like obviously wanted me to worry. Obviously wanted me to get pissed off. And as the 18, 19-year-old guy I was, obviously I got pissed off. Who the fuck does he think he is?
No, you stayed calm and
yeah, I stayed
tranquil,
calm.
Yeah.
No, I said that he was a fucking
pass,
asshole.
Erik said to himself.
I told him that he was a freaking asshole that didn't know what he was doing. That was playing like an idiot because he was. He couldn't play for shit. So this guy starts screaming at me. And he's like, okay, let's play heads up. 5,000. 5,000 euros.
And heads up is 1-on-1 for the one listening.
So a one-on-one tournament. Just
he's being, you know, back in the days, if you were pissed at someone, you took a glove and you slapped them in the face. I challenge you to a duel. This is what happened.
This
in
is
poker
equal
terms.
to that.
Yes.
So if we would have swords, we would have gone bonkers on swords. Unfortunately, we didn't have swords. So this guy doesn't know for shit what he's doing. He's just filthy rich in an annoying way. And I didn't have any money. I mean, 5,000 euros, that was basically my life savings. but me, being me, proud as a dumbass, I'm saying yes! Okay, so this can go into one of these just begin moments when I say yes without really thinking anything through. And I mean, the tournament we were playing, I think it cost like 300 euros to play, and now we were going to play heads up for 5,000 euros. So everyone more or less stopped caring about the tournament and went to watch us play. So I'm sitting here, 19 years old, cocky as fuck, a bit panicky, what did I agree to, but too proud to back out.
But how sure were you that you would win this duel?
I was pretty sure, but still, it was above my pay rate. So I actually partnered up with you, and you paid half of my fee. It was like, Emil, I can do this. You're like, yeah, let's do this. So I put up 2,500 euros on the table. Emil put up 2,500 euros. And I had to borrow this money from a guy named Isak because I didn't have the money.
I think I had to do that too.
Yeah, I think we both borrowed the money from him. So he gave me 10 500 euros bills. 500 euro bills. They're purple. Ugly as fuck. That's purple money. It looks like Monopoly money. And we start playing this tournament. And yeah, to make a long story short, yours truly, freaking lost, man. Poker it's an ugly maiden. Can be
Just
the
to
devil.
set the stage a little bit here. Surrounding this old guy is now not only him playing like in an isolated table. He has a squad around him. There are at least 10 Italian guys just screaming in Italian behind him when he's winning every pot. And I look from a distance. I'm sitting there with the guy Isaac that lent us the money. And I see Erik on the table. His shoulders just like shrinking as his stack gets smaller. And then I see you walking, everybody's cheering over there. And then I see Erik slowly moving over to our table. I said, long story short, guys.
Yeah, I want the short story. I didn't want to tell that part. Yeah, so, it felt like I was up against the entire Italian army or something.
Right,
and
so
this guy was a really rich guy, and he was in the casino a lot. So obviously the casino was cheering for him. He had a lot of friends there, and I was this cocky 19-year-old Swede from nowhere going up and gonna show him my balls. Didn't work very well. My balls were not
no
impressive.
one wants you to win there. Alright, so just to recap what we learned so far. Erik is getting beaten up by 14-year-old kids, and Erik is getting beat up by old Italian guys.
Yeah, that's me.
But there's a twist. Because I remember after, I think maybe it was that evening or the next evening, we were sitting down at a table and Erik said, I remember you said, you know, guys, I'm actually not that into poker. I'm like, yeah, all right. You just lost money, so of course it feels that way. He's like, no, I'm gonna start a company. All right, man. No, you're gonna play free rolls and win this money back. And that is sort of where our paths diverged for a while, isn't it? Someone walking on a slightly more lucrative path.
Yeah. So I started a company. I started lots of them.
The short version of what happened, because then we didn't really speak that much for a couple of years. So if you could just
So we kind of drifted apart, you and I, because I stopped playing, and I'd say that poker was our main interest together. Or okay, I'm gonna be a bit blunt here. Poker was the only thing you cared about. So when I didn't care about it anymore, we couldn't really remain friends, because if I called you and was like, hey, you want to hang out? You're like, no, I want to play poker.
Grinding, man.
So poker was Emil's lover, mistress, drug, life, passion. Yeah, he didn't care about anything else. So I started a company, and real quick, that company grew a lot. That was the only thing I did for the next 6 years or so. And we didn't speak, you and I, for this. I think our paths split at like 2009. I don't think I met you there. And then we met 2015 in October. How did that happen?
That was a freak accident or a divine orchestration, depending on how you want to view those things. So just to recap, what I did is pretty much exactly what Erik said. I liked poker so much that I just could not think of anything else. For 5-6 years, I played between 12 and 15 hours per day, almost every day, 7 days per week. And I loved it. I had so much life force. But I think that was around 2014. This poker market started to dip. America couldn't play anymore, and all the circumstances around poker became much worse. So it was much, much more difficult to win money from poker. And by the way, anyone who's listening to this, and I should have said this from the beginning, disclaimer, too late. If you're thinking, this sounds really cool, I want to make money playing poker, don't. It's virtually impossible to get into poker these days. You have computer software working against you, and people are so good that, it's not gonna happen. So I wouldn't recommend my worst enemy to get into poker in 2019.
If you try, it's very likely that you're gonna feel like I did at that poker table with the Italian guy.
Yeah.
That's the feeling you should take with you from poker in this story. Because that's the way it would be like if you start today.
Yeah.
Very, very
and
likely.
not like an underdog, like he's gonna turn this around. No.
You're gonna be crushed
You're
like a bug.
Gonna be a dog, yeah. So at that point, poker was much worse, and things happened around me that made it obvious that I needed to take a break. Because I had focused so much on poker that sort of my relationships were failing, my body started to fail, and so I thought, okay, I'll take a break. So for the first time in my life, I took a break from poker that was longer than 2 weeks, I think. And I went on a long road trip on myself in America. I was away for months. And then I moved to Berlin. And I stayed there for a year. And I'll tell you what I did in Berlin a little bit later. But first, I want to jump a little bit and say how it came that me and Erik met each other again. So I was in Berlin for a year, not playing. And then I started playing a little bit again, playing some live tournaments and stuff. And I went to the tiny little island of Malta. And I'm playing a tournament. I'm playing an EPT tournament in Malta. And I'm one of these kind of guys that I'm rather 1 minute late than 20 minutes early. Which is, I think, is a good life strategy. But if you're playing poker, that means that sometimes you're going to be losing some chips because you're sitting out. And I was 1 minute late. So I'm running through the lobby, going to my table. And if I'm late, I'm going to start losing my money. So I'm running through the lobby, and I hear a voice, Emil! And I see Erik. Erik, hey man, how are you? And obviously I'm just assuming that Erik is in Malta too to play that tournament. And I said, oh yeah, are you playing the main event? What's going on? And he's like, no, what did you say?
Well, I was playing a small little shitty tournament. This was the first time. Ironically, it was the second time I was to that casino, and I've been living in Malta for 5 years when this happened.
Yeah.
And I was just playing a 200 euro tournament. You were playing like a 2,000 or 5,000 euro tournament or something like that.
5,000, yeah. No, that was a side. Anyway, yeah. So you hadn't played for years, and you had this feeling that, all right, I'll go to the casino and play a tournament, and you did that only for fun. You wanted to try what it was like playing. So I'm like, all right, so we talked a little bit, and there was like a voice inside of me said, hey man, how about we have dinner tonight? And you said sure, and later that night during the lunch break we had a dinner. And Erik started to telling me his story. And you remember that slightly more lucrative path? I started to see what had happened there. That Erik had walked a slightly more lucrative path. And I think what was so interesting about that meeting is that we sort of both had a puzzle piece that the other person was needing. So what was going on in your life at that point?
Okay, so this is October 2015. We are just about to take Catena Media to the stock exchange. I think that I've just found out that we're gonna miss the deadline. So the deadline I was going for, which would have been in November, has just been postponed to February, and I'm so overworked. I'm in complete panic mode. I'm feeling like shit. So all the time you dedicated to poker the last years, I've been dedicating to business, digging my head down into it and just pushing through. So I'm at the place right now where I'm super, super focused on where I'm going. I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm in extreme business mode, and at the same time I'm feeling miserable because nothing is really working in my life outside of business. We missed this deadline, which was partly my fault. I'm gonna have to wait 3 months. I've just let a lot of people down with regards to this. And then I meet you. And speaking of these two pieces of puzzle, then it's like I saw you, and my first feeling was like, wow, this guy he's either high or he's figured out something. Because you were so calm. You were sitting there looking like Ferdinand in the Disney movie, like smelling the flowers, like just being. And I was like, this guy has figured something out. And you started telling me about yoga and meditation, and Erik in 2015, he was like, that's freaking bullshit. Meditation is for wusses. Yoga, that's a girl thing, with just an excuse to wear tight pants so they get nice asses.
They do.
They do. And I was like, but at the same time, I remember the respect I had for you when we were playing poker, the intelligence you showed, and the dedication of learning, the shelf of books. It was like, if anyone else would have told me about this meditation crap, I would just, no, fucking hippie, you're lying. But then when you was like, this guy has figured something out. I need to learn from him. It felt like, hey, what was going on with you here?
I think this is such a funny coincidence because, like you said, I think if anyone else would have told you about yoga or meditation or any of those things, or I think you couldn't have listened. But you remember me as a guy that was super stressed and exactly like you, to be honest. Yeah. When we were 20, we were pretty much the same person. Just super stressed, just wanted to build things moving forwards. And then because you and I were so similar, you could take those ideas in more. And I could see in your eyes that your eyes were strained, like intense. It looked like you were like glossy in your eyes because there was so much tension going on in your life. So I could see that Erik sees something in what I have done. And just to clarify, during this year in Berlin, I didn't play, didn't work. I did two things. I had a very deep meditation practice, and I only explored questions that had to do with what's the meaning of life and spirituality. So 1 year reading books and meditating, basically. So I was in a pretty relaxed state. Hippie, yeah. That was the best year of my life, though. And so Erik could see something in me that was a missing puzzle piece for him, which was the calm and relaxation and good emotions and presence. And I could see something in Erik that obviously was missing in my life at that point, which was, drive, hunger, dedication. Something that was very natural to me before, but that was missing now. So I can see, Erik got something here. And obviously your story about Katina was insanely inspiring. So, I want to learn stuff from him. And Erik is thinking, I want to learn stuff from him. So we had a dinner. I actually ended up 4th in that tournament. So you stayed around and you were looking at the final table. And then we had breakfast the day after. It was like a really good one-night stand.
Yeah, without a hangover.
Yeah.
and the sex. Just disclaimer.
No sex, I promise.
Wink, wink.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's leave it at that.
All right, cool. So we both see how we were very similar from the beginning and how we could benefit from developing a friendship. And after that, you and I have just become more and more close and more intertwined. And we are having very similar ideas of how we want to live our lives.
Yeah, I think that just even way before our path kind of separated, I felt a very strong connection to you. And I think that you touch upon it when you say we were basically living the same lives. We were basically the same guy. And I felt that very strongly back then. And I remember I was very sad that we had drifted apart. And I felt the same thing there when we had that dinner. It's like, wow. I remember I came home to Johanna that evening and I was in the best mode. And I haven't told you this, by the way.
How exciting.
And I started telling Johanna about my evening. I was so excited. I was like, this is, it's like, Johanna, I think I have a man crush. So that was I felt in love, Emil. I felt in love. And Johanna wasn't jealous, luckily.
Oh, that's sweet. And then we started hanging out more and more. We went on some trips together. So when did we start talking about grades? Was that before?
I think I actually might have shared this vision. So I've had this vision of great for a very long time.
Wait, so let's slow down, because I don't think we've told this story before. When did you start getting the ideas of great? And which was the biggest insight realization moment for you?
I'm not sure if there is a specific big insight moment. I know that so what Katina Media is doing marketing for casinos. And Katina runs, 40, 50 different websites doing this. And I've always wanted to build one really, really good product over a very long time. And that's not as profitable as doing a lot of different products over the short term. So if you want to do something for 3 years, then it's much better to build a lot of websites than it is to build one. But if you want to build something for 50 years or a decade, then it's much better to build one. So I always had this dream about building one really good product, and I could really see how that would happen, but there was never time. We were always running, we was always hitting the next target. There was never enough time to raise the view and see
And
that.
what was inspiring to you about that dream? Was it because you saw problems in Catena, or was it because you felt the desire to explore this way of creating that product?
I think it goes back to the passion of building things. I mean, when you're building things, you much rather build one really cool thing than 50 kind of cool things. At least that's the way I work. So I would much rather build the highest tower in kindergarten than build 50 small towers. So I think the view of how it looked in my head, you and I used to play with kapla-klossar, these small little wooden bricks in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. And I remember on the box was the picture of the Eiffel Tower, like this super fancy house building. And everyone wants to...
And you're thinking, let's go higher.
Yeah, let's build 3 times the size. But that's like the dream of building. And obviously we never managed to build it. You probably needed 10 boxes just to do it. But this was my Eiffel Tower. This was my kapla-kloss Eiffel Tower, wooden sticks. And I could see this in my head, but I never had the time to start building it because it takes a long time to get the Eiffel Tower done. So I think the main drive behind it was the urge of creating that thing. The vision I had that this can become something really cool. This can be something really big. And just wanted to create that for the fun of it, or for the meaning of the purpose of building, and to create something that's very valuable for anyone who wants to use it. So I think that was my main drive. So I knew that I wanted to do that one way or another. And at the same time, I had figured out that, so I had a lot of money for quite some time. Catena made a lot of money. I had much more money than my friends. And I didn't feel happy with that. I felt that it gave me a lot of very valuable things. I had the freedom. I could eat where I wanted. I could travel where I wanted. I could do all of these things. But I couldn't at the same time because I was working all the time. So money didn't give me happiness because I didn't have the time to do anything with it. So I still felt like, okay, money can probably be used for something else. And I got into the thinking about, what if I'm building this Eiffel Tower of a project, but we can give away all the profits. So we can at the same time maximize the purpose of it and helping as many people as possible with it. Which was a completely new idea to me and made me so much more inspired of building this. Because to me, more money was more zeros in a bank account. I couldn't touch it. I couldn't understand it. Couldn't really relate to what was going on. It's similar to when we were playing poker. It was just numbers. It was never real money per se. But when seeing at it and calculating the number of lives it could impact, seeing the smiles that could happen, seeing the families that could be brought together, it became so much more tangible than money was for me. Just seeing the people around me, that how they would benefit from being helped, or all of these things. So this idea slowly grew in me, and I think it was already growing when we met. I think I was already there in my dreams, but it wasn't time to slow down or start over. So that's kind of where the idea comes from. There's no absolute moment it happened. It just came over time. And I think I shared this vision with you over a coffee in Stockholm or something the first time. And you really enjoyed it and were really interested about just hearing this view of thinking things. And we still didn't really hang out that much. And then we went to the US together. I think that's where we really started benefiting from each other's friendships. You have anything you want to touch upon before the US trip, or?
Yeah, so you took Catena public. And then did you still work at the company after that? Or did you have sort of a lot of free time, and was then when you really started to form the ideas with Great and you were starting to see more visions? Or what did you do after you created a company?
So Catena Media went public on the 11th of February 2016 on my 28th birthday. And I made 15 million dollars that day and reached all of these financial goals, all the things that I dreamed of, everything that I wanted to do. I didn't have to work for one single day in the rest of my life if I didn't want to. But my main feeling that day was relief. I didn't really celebrate the money. I celebrated that I'd managed to survive this super hectic period. I just wanted to lay down and rest. That was the biggest thing. Sure, I was really happy about the money, all of these things as well, but at the same time I was so exhausted. So I couldn't really do anything else. So I stayed with Katina for about a year because I had promised to do so. I had some meetings, I did some business traveling, but I didn't work at all in the same pace. And about a year later, I just quit. So I think I quit late 2016. Yeah. And then I came back to regular life. I had reached all of these goals. Things were normal. I'm like anyone else. I would get a cold. I would be tired. I felt that I was lacking a purpose. Before I was chasing this money, I was building this thing, and now I wasn't. I had these arguments with my girlfriend. We had all of these challenges and problems that we hadn't solved and that money couldn't solve. Our relationship didn't magically get better just because I had money. So we ended up separating in early 2017 after 7 years together. She was my everything, and I was completely crushed. And I went to you, and this became another one of the most meaningful moments in yours and my relationship. I remember knocking on your door in your apartment in Stockholm. And I've told you that what's going on. I've told you I was devastated, but I felt that I was making the decision then and there. Am I gonna just hold things in, smile, laugh, say to hell with that girl, let's go find others? Or should I just let myself be crushed? Let myself be sad and vulnerable? And I rang your doorbell, and you opened the door. What happened for you there?
Trying to think back to that moment. I remember you were very open. You were crying, but you didn't need me to make you feel better. You wanted to feel sad, and you wanted someone to just hold space. I can't exactly remember, but I think we sat a lot that day.
Yeah.
A lot of things to be.
Yeah, I remember you opened the door and you said hi. And I tried to say hi.
Oh yeah.
No words just came. I just burst into tears. And you came and you hugged me. And you were just holding me. Said nothing. I was just crying. And I remember I tried to start talking and no words came out. I just couldn't. And I felt a lot of guilt or shame for crying, for not being the man I could be. And at the same time, I just felt so relieved that I could just feel and just be present with that feeling, not trying to force it away, because I'm already way above the point of no return. I cannot turn this into a laughter or play around with it. I'm in horrible shape. So I can just go with it. There is no other way from here. And we sat down in your couch, and I told you the full story of this, what was going on, and I remember that you were so shocked about all this because you had no idea we had problems. I've never told you about that part.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the long story short is that me and Johanna, we had a perfect relationship in so many ways, but our sex life just didn't work the way we wanted to. That was the only reason we broke up, and I'm sure we're gonna revisit that topic some other time, but that's a long sidetrack.
It really stands out to me how different our lives were back then, because now we're gonna touch on this, I'm sure. We're meeting regularly and we are sharing these kinds of things. But before then, it seems so weird and alien and distant now that you didn't share the fact that you had this big problem with anyone.
Yeah.
Maybe you did share it with someone, but
I didn't share it with anyone. And I
that
think
must have felt very lonely to keep that inside of you.
Yeah, that was really lonely. And it was one of these stupid pride things. Like, I'm too proud to show anyone my weaknesses or my vulnerability. Like, and I think that goes with sex more than anything else. Because as a man, you're supposed to be able to please your woman. And we get a lot of our self-worth, or at least I did, I still do, of how well we can attract a mate. Like, how much do women care about us is a big part of how I value myself today, and a much, much bigger part of how I value myself back then. So to openly say that I have problems with this, that's so scary. It's like the most scary thing to talk about. So I never told anyone about it back then, and now I've told a lot of people about it. Yeah, so after that, I just wanted to hide away. I just wanted to disappear.
Where are we now?
Now
in the story.
I just broken up with Johanna. Well, we just broke up. And yeah, we're a couple of days after we met in your apartment, or I don't know, sometime. This is March.
Can I ask before, like, how safe did you feel being that sad in front of me at that point? So I want to know what your experience was.
I felt safe. I felt so many emotions, and I think I felt safe enough to be present with him, that I didn't consider anything else. I didn't feel judged in any way. At least I don't remember that. So I felt that I could just openly be. I think I felt that there was some discomfort from your end, that you didn't really know how to deal with this. But at the same time, you were like letting it be. It was kind of, I can imagine that you felt the same way I felt, like, okay, this is already an emotional roller coaster. There's no way to stop this. Let's just be here and see when this roller coaster decides to stop. So I don't think that I thought much more than just go, which is a huge compliment to me feeling safe then, because that means that I felt safe enough to just be and just do this. So yeah, I felt safe, and I think a big part of that was that you didn't try to get the conversation in any specific direction. I don't think that you gave much advice. I don't even think you tried to understand that much. You were just there to listen and hold me. And that's probably what I needed. Yeah, that's how I felt.
Mm. And how do you think our friendship changed then? And how do you think friendships in general change if you have those kind of moments?
think our relationship changed a lot. I think especially I can only talk for my relationship towards you. And I think that I felt safe enough to be a lot more honest and vulnerable from that moment, because I felt that there was no judgments. Especially I think I felt safe afterwards. Like, if I'm feeling shitty, I can be shitty. And also, like, I'd already told you what my biggest shame in life was, because me not being able to sort out our sex life was my biggest shame in life. So just sharing that big shame made like, yeah, that was my biggest secret. I don't have any as big secrets anymore. And I think that secrets are the enemies of friendship.
I think that's very interesting, because I think dealing with shame, I think sharing those deep secrets can be very healing. And I know you did it with me, and then you went on doing that in front of a wider audience in the Swedish Framgångspodden.
Yeah.
So how did that change your relationship with your shame, to share it with other people and then a lot of people?
So at first I share this story with you, and I get this aha moment that, okay, he doesn't think less of me because I'm sharing. Quite the opposite. And then I shared the same kind of story with others of my close friends, and none of them did anything other than giving me love from that. And it also felt like all of our relationship enhanced from that. So whatever I'd been hiding away, being my worst enemy, turned out to be my superhero. It was a superpower sharing this, because people felt safe around me. They felt less vulnerable. They felt more willing to be vulnerable and open. And I just got so much love from wherever I told these stories. And then I went on this podcast interview with Alexander in Sweden, and that's a big podcast in Sweden. And when I wasn't sure if I was going to tell these stories or what we're going to talk about or how we're going to do this. And we started talking, and I was in a really bad place, because me and Johanna, we had just separated. Like, it was a month after we separated. And I think that was the worst time, because the first couple of weeks I didn't really realize what was going on. I was kind of in denial, and a month in, it kind of just slapped me in the face, like, wow, this is actually happening. She's actually not coming back. I'm not coming back. So I more or less started crying during this podcast when he asked me how I was feeling. And I told him more or less the full story that I told you. We are the difference that that podcast had hundreds of thousands of listeners. So what was my biggest shame just a few months earlier was now public knowledge, open to anyone who wanted to hear it.
Mm.
And yeah, that changed my relationship to that so much that that's now something I'm very proud of talking about. That I've felt that it changed the dynamic towards sex in general for me, got another understanding for it, and it's opened up so many conversations with other people, making me feel a lot less lonely, because I've realized that so many other people are struggling with similar situations.
And do you think you feel less lonely because you allow people to see more of you? Or because you have more connections now with people?
Probably a combination of the two. So by not... If I'm holding a secret within me, there is no way for anyone to connect with that secret, because they don't know it. It's simply impossible to connect with that secret, because I'm not showing it. They can't grab it, they can't touch it, they can't do anything. But by showing it, you give people the option to connect with it and caress it or hug it or share it or whatever they can do. And everyone was just showing my big secret, my big shame is love, and try to understand. And sure, everyone didn't understand, but everyone tried one way or another. So I think that it became so much more connection with all of these things And yeah, I felt a lot less lonely because people could connect. So because I showed it, but also because I was looking for those connections then. Because I was willing to talk about this. Before I would rather take a bullet to my head than talk about it.
I think this is a good time to wrap this up. So, guys listening, hope you enjoyed this. Let's see, what have we learned today? Erik loses against a 14-year-old, loses against an old Italian guy.
It's fun when Erik loses.
I think that's mostly the main takeaway. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good week.
Cheers.
See you next time.